Well, today is the feast day of the Epiphany. And for most of the history of Christianity, up until around the 1800s, this was the day you got your gifts. This was the day people got their gifts. And there's still parts of the world where this is the day you get your gifts. Parts of Italy, Spain, Portugal, down in Argentina. I was down in Argentina a number of years ago on Epiphany, and the carolers all dress up like the Three Kings. You know, they call it Three Kings Day. And that's the day the children get their gifts. It's the Three Kings that bring the gifts. It's a wonderful tradition. But of course, this is about gifts. There's a certain logic to this, of course, because that's the day the gifts were brought to the Christ child. You know, the Magi did not come on the day Christ was born. They came, a little bit later. And that's why we celebrate this beautiful day of Epiphany. So let's talk about gifts. I got some great gifts for Christmas. One of them is a gift card from my staff to the Big and Tall shop, so I can get a new pair of shoes and a coat. I was real happy about that one. That one made me very, very happy. And my security staff, they got me a battery-heated gloves. So when I sit out there to go along with the battery-heated vest they bought for me last Christmas. So, I'm doing pretty good there. So it was a very nice Christmas for me, and many other gifts people gave me, and I appreciated all of them. And I'm sure many of you received gifts as well. Well, let's talk about the gifts today that are given to the Christ child and what they mean. The first one is gold. Now, for those of you who are old like me and still read newspapers, you would know that every year there's articles in most all the papers about what the price of the 12 days of Christmas gifts would be. You know that song, The 12 Days of Christmas? And if you look at the price of the 5 gold rings, it's more than all the other 11 gifts combined, because gold's expensive. And it was expensive in Jesus' day as well. It's the most precious of the metals. But there was one difference. In Jesus' day, only royalty could have gold. No one else could have gold. Only royalty could have gold. You could be rich and have all the silver, the jewels, the land, the property, the cattle, the flocks that you wanted if you could afford them. But you couldn't own gold unless you were royalty. So giving this gold to the infant Jesus signified that this infant was a king. A king. Born in a barn, laid in a manger, which is a feed box, in a smelly barn. That is a king. Then the next gift is frankincense. Frankincense is simply incense. It's a type of incense. A lot of it in today's world is made in Ethiopia. A couple years ago when I was in Ethiopia visiting, I visited a place where they made frankincense. It smelled wonderful. But I have to say, it's incense. And now, I don't use incense very often in church. I use it for the holy hours, and that's basically it, because I find that when I use incense, there's always someone coming up to me coughing, they have asthma or problems, and they don't want to smell it, so I forego it most of the time, except for holy hours. And but some priests use a lot of incense a lot of times, so it just depends where you go. And what incense does, it represents our prayers going to God. That's what the incense rising represents. And in Jesus' day, all the temples used incense. Of course, the temple to the one true God in Jerusalem was using incense, of course, but so were all the pagan temples all over the Roman Empire and beyond. So incense was a very, very common thing. So giving this frankincense to this baby, Jesus, signified that he was a God. A God that will intercede for us. Quite remarkable. So you have this infant lying in this barn. He's now declared a king and a God. Then the third gift. The third gift is something that I bet no one would want to get, and you'd probably want to give it to someone you didn't like. It's called myrrh. Myrrh is embalming fluid. That's what they used back in Jesus' day to preserve a body before they wrapped it up and had the funeral. Seriously, that's what it was. Now you would think, wow, who wants to give their baby that? Well, this baby who is king and this baby who is God came to serve for a purpose. And that purpose was to save all of us. And he's only going to save all of us through dying and bleeding for all of our sins on the cross.